In these caves, you see the transition from just surviving to living, to observing the world, to enjoying it. People coming together to make art, and not just any old art, but specific representations of particular animals and particular symbols.
They say you should never judge a book by its cover, but when your book reads like absolute shit, you better at least make it look pretty. Now, whether it's a book, album, or a movie, a big part in whether or not the average person is going to give a lick of time towards your product is entirely determined by how much they can gawk at how pretty it looks on the outside. And really, the humble YouTube thumbnail is no different. If you go for a scroll through any amateur YouTube forums, you'll see countless posts about the importance of these colourful PNGs, how they are the single driving force that will get your video way more clicks than it actually deserves. And to be honest, they aren't wrong. The thumbnail is an excellent way to capture a click off of viewers that may have otherwise not been dragged in by your boring and generic video idea. But the thumbnail has come a long way since its introduction in the early days of YouTube, and along with that, the ways to exploit and maximize its potential have developed even further. But what is a thumbnail? It's this thing. The little rectangle that you see when you click on the video. Ah, and they move now. That's pretty fun, I suppose. So where did it all begin? In the early days of YouTube, thumbnails were created from a random still frame of the video, an option which is still available to creators today. The creator was not able to choose which frame themselves, and it was pretty much luck of the draw as to whether the frame captured your best angle or not. That was at least until 2006, when the first ever custom YouTube thumbnail was introduced. Following this, creators realized the potential of this new feature. Early YouTubers like Smosh were quick to start adding custom thumbnails to their videos, and it was at this point that the meta began to establish. Early channels like Smosh and Fred had most of their thumbnails as foreground images of their face, with text generally on the left or right and a plain but colourful background. Being that most of these channels had pretty young fan bases, making the thumbnail as eye-wateringly colourful as possible was always the priority. What can be seen here is the early versions of what the modern thumbnail looks like today, but then the meta was turned on its head upon one simple realization. Dude, just make shit up. Around the early to mid-2010s, we started to see the introduction of the now widespread trend of thumbnail clickbait. Thumbnail clickbait can come in many forms. It can be the use of obnoxious arrows to reveal something that isn't there. It can be the inclusion of a somewhat scantily clad woman to pique the interest of men who don't get out enough. It can be a clearly photoshopped image of something that not only didn't happen, but has absolutely nothing to do with the video itself. I'd like to use this thumbnail as somewhat of a case study. Now, no shade to this Jack gentleman here, but this has to be one of the most hilariously effective uses of thumbnail clickbait that I've ever come across.
This contest is over. Give that man the $10,000.
I mean, look at this shit. You see it and you think, oh, there's no way he's doing a pull-up without hands. But then all of a sudden your curiosity is sparked. You have to know what he means by this. Is it a real Guinness World Record? Is he telekinetic? How the hell is he doing a no-hands pull-up? It's an absolute enigma. By the time you've made it this far into the thought process, there's no possible way you can go on with the rest of your day without knowing what the hell he meant by this. So naturally, you click on the video, and you realize he basically just meant that he was going to be doing pull-ups where he lets go of the bar. You just got clickbaited. And by you, I mean me, because this is exactly what I went through when I saw this thumbnail. Now, it's worth noting that this is a pretty harmless form of thumbnail clickbait. I mean, the thing he's doing in the video is still pretty impressive, and I can't do any no-hands pull-ups, so what the fuck do I know, really? Another interesting little case study is looking back at the old Smosh thumbnails. It's one thing to use nudity or otherwise inappropriate shit to insinuate something sexual in a video, but they used to frequently just put a censor bar over like a clothed person. Like, why? You're clearly not censoring anything. I understand you do it so that as a viewer you think there's going to be something raunchy in the video, so well done to them, I guess. The undisputed masters of tricking kids into thinking they might get to see a bum crack. Now, objectifying women to sell a product is nothing new. Advertisers figured this shit out decades ago. Smosh were among the first YouTubers to put this theory into action on the website, but they definitely weren't the worst, and they definitely weren't the only ones. What's more insane is how long YouTube allowed this shit to go on for. Luckily, in the post-adpocalypse era of YouTube, showing blatant nudity on the thumbnail is pretty unfriendly to advertisers, and as such, the monetization prospects of showing soft nudity to minors has since plummeted, so yay. In more recent years, thumbnails have found their way into a new meta, which of course is as simple as follows. Open your mouth as wide as you possibly can, put a bunch of red arrows that point at nothing, turn up the saturation as far as you can so that your viewers feel like they just poured sherbet into their eyeballs, and for bonus points, put some bold text making an even bolder claim about whatever your video is about, or if you feel even more like you don't give a shit, just outright lie. In a lot of ways, this is all a combination of all the previous metas combined. This style of thumbnail was popularized by Mr. Beast, and as such, every other channel on YouTube is now copying him. It's a weird Photoshop thing where the photo of the face is clearly taken under studio lighting and has pretty significant enhancements to it, and then that image is then photoshopped onto a body which is put in front of a background which is colorful and saturated. I don't know, man, the kids love it. So now, with all this knowledge, I figured we would go back and update the thumbnail of the first ever YouTube video so that it better fits in with today's thumbnail meta. So here we have the first video, me at the zoo. Pretty fucking boring if you ask me. The first, and if you've been paying attention, most important thing that we have to do is absolutely just fucking ramp up the saturation. So already you can imagine a 6-year-old seeing this and just salivating at the look of it. Now, we want to create a sense of mystery. So I'm just going to bring in a fairly obnoxious circle and have it reveal fucking absolutely nothing. And while we're at it, throw a fucking arrow in there as well, who cares? Now, a lot of YouTube videos now thrive on material things like cars because they like further peddling consumerism to children. So let's go ahead and throw a Lambo in there for good measure. Now, I'm worried that this thumbnail has a bit too much to do with the video that it's representing. This is bad because the video is likely pretty dull, so we need to sort of create a story within the thumbnail itself. So we'll start off with the actual title of the video. Now, me at the zoo is pretty boring, pretty ambiguous. Doesn't really do much for my my dopamine receptors, so let's go ahead and change that. Now, we want to create a sense of mystery, so let's go with fucking I did what at the zoo? Throw in a gone wrong, because I don't know, like how much actually has to go wrong for a video to be able to say that it's gone wrong? Fucking nothing, it's gone wrong. And just to throw in a bit extra, I'll put in brackets, not allowed back. Now this is good because already you see this and you simply have to know what this young man did at the zoo. But you have no idea, so you have to watch the video. And now for good measure, we'll chuck in our boy, Mr. Beast. Maybe a shocked monkey, maybe he did something to the monkey. Oh, and how could I forget? Just lob a bloody censor bar in there as well. Now there you go, it's perfect. This is a Sistine Chapel level thumbnail. Historians are going to dig this up in thousands of years and will use it to understand everything there is to know about the culture of our time. It's like how they use the Rosetta Stone to translate ancient Egyptian hieroglyphics and shit. Here it is. That's the modern day Rosetta Stone. You're welcome. Now look, I get it. If I was 8 years old, my dopamine receptors would be burning out just looking at some of these abominations. But truth be told, that's kind of always been the case with thumbnails. Now whether it's the old days of Smosh or the new wave of Mr. Beast clones, thumbnails have always served to be as ridiculously obnoxious as possible. But really, to what end? If all thumbnails are grotesquely vibrant atrocities, does that not kind of defeat the purpose of trying to make them unique? I mean, how can something stand out when everything around it looks the exact same? At this point, the thumbnails with less detail and colors will stand out more than the rest. So this is what I foresee. At some point, the meta will return to dull and bland thumbnails. Eventually, thumbnails will be black with just text, and following that, no text at all. And this will be the final evolution of the YouTube thumbnail. Oh my god, you sat through that whole thing? You could have been watching way better stuff. Thanks so much for watching. This video was a lot goofier, but I kind of enjoyed it because it was goofy. If you want to see me talk about other topics, some of which will be more serious than this, some of this will be less serious than this, then go ahead and hit that button. And yeah, okay, cool. Thanks, bye.